You're listening to the Happy Tracks podcast. In this episode, I discuss how your triggers are a blessing in disguise. This episode is going to bring a lot to the surface. Stay tuned. Hey, I'm Taylor, founder of the travel blog Taylor's Tracks, personal development junkie, and pursuer of happiness. I help women have breakthrough experiences so that you can live a happier and healthier life that is so good you won't need a vacation from it. I believe that happiness is an inside job, so this podcast is dedicated to delivering weekly actionable tips that combine spirituality, personal development, and well-being practices that will help you live your best life, find pure joy every day, and realize your true power. Are you ready to meet your best self? Let's get started. This is the Happy Tracks podcast. Welcome back to the podcast as always. You may have noticed that I took a little bit of a break last week, and that was just needed. It's just what I needed to give myself a little bit of space and time and compassion to allow room for everything that was happening. And last week was a really big week. First off, with everything that's happening up in the sky, it was a summer or winter eclipse, depending if you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. It was also a Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the podcast. As always, I am so thrilled that you decided to join me for another week. And if it's your first time, hello, I am Taylor, and welcome. So, you may have noticed that I took a little bit of a break last week, and I didn't force myself to push out a new podcast episode. And that's because I never, ever want to create content or give something to you guys that you can take in when I'm not in a good vibration, when I'm not in a happy state, when I'm not in this creative flow. I don't want to transfer any of my negative energy or anxiety or worries or whatever it is I'm feeling through the mic into your earbuds or through video. I 100% believe that energy can be picked up virtually and absolutely through sound. There's a reason why sound healing is a thing. You can, body language is a thing. You can see people on video. You can pick up their energy just by how they look. It's the exact same with voice as well. You can tell when someone's feeling down or someone's feeling hot. So it was really important for me last week to give myself the time and space to have compassion for myself and to not force out anything. And this is something I think that's really important for you to recognize in your life as well. Where do you need to be easy on yourself? Where are you forcing and pushing into the masculine so much? And where can you step back into your feminine and allow yourself to just receive, to let go, and to be? Life is a balance of masculine and feminine. We need both of these divine powers that we have inside all of us. But when they get off balance, that's when it can cause havoc and chaos in your life. So for me, what it looks like last week was taking a break from this podcast. And I don't know if you felt shit happening last week, but stuff was crazy. First off, it was a summer or winter solstice, depending on if you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. We also had an eclipse and a new moon. And the eclipse on the new moon was, when this happens, from what I've read, it's a bit of a wild card. So new moons are a really good time for setting intentions, and it's all about beginnings. But with the eclipse in the mix, it kind of had the opportunity to throw things off. And I know for me, I was feeling it. All of it was about new beginnings, and I had my birthday on the Monday, the day after the new moon, so it was another new beginning on top of that for me, and I was just like, I'm feeling this energy hard. We are 100% affected by the planets. Look at the ocean. Look at how much it's affected by the moon. Do you know how much water's in us? Of course, we're affected by it as well. So if you ever feel a little bit off and aren't quite sure why, I like to look into astrology because I think it has a lot of answers for us, and some of which we may not fully understand yet. So, started this off on a little bit of a tangent. But I think it's really important, and that you will 100% get value, whether this is something that you're hearing for the first time or whether this is a reminder, because we always need to be reminded of things until it takes a lot of reminders for it to fully sink. That's what I was looking for. Fully sink into our being and for us to grasp it and start using it. So, last week I also launched Fierce Feminine, which is my one-on-one coaching program that teaches women how to reconnect with themselves and balance their masculine and feminine and just lead their lives, tap into their inner power, their trust, their love. Oh, there are so many juicy bits that are a part of Fierce Feminine. And I called it Fierce Feminine because fierce really encompasses the masculine, the go out there and do it, and you can get whatever the hell you want. And the feminine obviously stands for the feminine. The flow, the ease, the manifestation, the peace, the wholeness. And when you can combine those two together, that's when you're able to achieve. That's when you're able to accomplish. That's when life becomes easy and you start experiencing those high vibe emotions. So if you want to go from having the inner critic, that voice screaming at you, telling you you're not good enough for something all the time, to just being perfectly okay with where you are and just thinking, oh, I don't hear that voice anymore. If you want to go from a perfectionist who's constantly trying to control everything to someone who's just completely calm and at ease making decisions, this is what Fierce Feminine does. It goes deep. It goes deep, and I promise it is worth it. So if you feel that Fierce Feminine is calling to you, if you feel like it's something that you could really benefit from, I encourage you to reach out. Send me a DM on Instagram at Taylor's Tracks, or I'm going to pop the link in the show notes of this, and you can go and check out more about the program. Even if there's something that's holding you back and you just want to message me and say, hey, I'm really interested. I've never considered coaching before, or there's something about this that I feel like would be right, but I don't think I have the money right now, or there's something that's throwing me off. Message me, and I'm happy, so happy to talk that through with you. Because a lot of the time, the blocks that we have, they're just keeping us safe. They're keeping you safe. So I'm always available to have a chat with you and see and help guide you through what's going on in your head. So let's get on to today's topic. I titled this episode, Let Your Triggers Be Your Guide, because this has been something that has been coming up a lot for me lately, a lot in the world from what I've seen, and also with a client that I just had a call with yesterday. This was coming up for her as well, and I was like, all right, got the message, universe. This has got to be talked about. So your triggers are when something happens and an emotion is evoked really strongly in you, whether it's someone intrudes in your space and there's irritation, and you notice that the same trigger is coming up again and again and again and again. And you're just like, oh my God, why can I not get away from this? Why can't I just change and just be okay with this? Why can't I just be a happy person? Why can't I just be a calm person? Why can't I just be chill? Why do I get worked up about this? Why can't I just let it go? Your triggers are often because there is some deep, deep healing that needs to be done. And healing is reflecting back on your past and understanding where this trigger could have come from, facing it head on, and letting it go. Now, these could be stories that you've made up for yourself, or these could be from events in your own life. And sometimes the things that you think you've gotten over, you think you've let go of, you haven't. You've just suppressed them. And it's those suppressed events, those suppressed emotions. Well, you think they're suppressed, but they keep coming up and showing their face in the most random moments. And sometimes you just don't understand. And that can be the most frustrating part about triggers. Questioning where the fuck they're coming from. Sometimes you can let them go without understanding the exact event that it was caused from. But sometimes you need to know more. I'm someone who likes to know more. And I've been working with a man named Kyle, who's absolutely fantastic, doing this technique, I guess you call it, called emotion code, that helps me to release these trapped emotions. And your emotions can get physically trapped in different areas of your body and can cause you to feel sore or tight in certain areas, or if it's trapped somewhere in your brain, it can cause you to think a different way. Like, this stuff gets complicated. So I'm gonna try my best to keep it as simple as possible. I lied. It does not get complicated. We as human beings make it complicated. It is simple. Very, very simple. But one thing I do want to point out is a lot of the time these triggers can be from events that happened when we were children. There is so much that we take in as kids, and we don't have a filter. We have no way of really judging what's happening as kids, because that's something that you build over time. So we just believe and trust everyone. And even if you had a great childhood, even if you think nothing bad happens, like me, I had a wonderful childhood, and I was like, oh, there's no way that there's stuff hanging around from when I was a kid. But there were things that I forgot about. All of the bullying that happened to me when I quit dance, like a boyfriend that I broke up with, major events that I didn't think I really needed to care about anymore have been bringing to the surface these damn emotions, for me specifically anger, in the form of triggers for decades. So, your triggers are literally just telling you that something deeper needs to be taken care of. Where can you connect with your inner child, the part of you that is still a kid? We all have that part of us, all of us. Can you allow yourself to see your triggers as a blessing, not as something that's keeping you stuck or following a pattern? Your triggers are an absolute blessing, pointing you to the exact emotion that you need to deal with and face head on. Now, let me say that this work, though it's simple, is so not easy. It can be freaking tough. You're bringing up emotions that you've been trying to suppress. And now to face them head on, to deal with these events that you were just like, nah, don't want to touch that. That's hard. Of course it is. But what are you going to get on the other side? How are you going to feel when you can finally let go of those emotions and let your triggers go? Pretty high freaking vibe. Definitely. These emotions, these trapped emotions, they're not here to harm you. They're not here to try and make your life miserable. This is just how humans work. This is how our energetic body works. And the more you understand energetics, the cooler all of life becomes, and the more simple it becomes. Your energy is what allows you to attract good things into your life. Maybe it's the perfect partner. Maybe it's the perfect job, the perfect income, whatever that is for you. Whatever it is that you want to attract, by letting go of these trapped emotions, by using your triggers to help guide you, help point you in the right direction of where you need to go. You're going to go some places you don't want to go, but you're going to come out so much stronger and wiser and lighter, so much lighter on the other side. You're going to be able to see your life and react in whole new ways that you didn't think was possible for you. You're going to stop blaming yourself and just be as you are. Now, I think it's also really important to note that in this work, when you're diving in and looking at things that happened to you as a child, it is no one's fault. You do not have to blame anyone in order to get closure. You do not have to speak or have contact with anyone if an event has happened with another person to get closure. You're the one holding on to this emotion, remember? Your reaction to things say more about you than it does the other person. So you can let go of those without talking, without seeing this person, without doing anything. You can do it all from the inside. There's a thing called energetic cords, and you can break these cords between people, between parts of people that you no longer want to deal with, that you no longer want in your life because they're not serving you anymore. Blaming does absolutely nothing. So it's not your fault, it's not anyone else's fault that something got trapped. It is just an event that happened in your life that at the time you didn't know how to handle, like you know how to handle it now. Even now, you could be having events that you're trapping emotions from. That's okay, because you're just doing the best, you're living the best that you know how to right now. And especially when we look back at things when we were children, it's really easy to go and start blaming our parents, our siblings, our teachers for things that happened to us when we were kids. How is that going to serve you, though? How is that going to serve them, blaming them? That does nothing to help you get through anything, and it does nothing to help continue and better your relationships with these people in the future. Blaming is not the answer. So instead, I encourage you to look at these events with compassion and remind yourself that at the time, everyone was doing the best that they could with the knowledge that they had. Your mom and dad learned how to parent from their parents, and their parents from their parents, and their parents, and so on. They're only doing, or they only did, what they learned how to do. Not everyone is like you. Not everyone is here diving into this personal development work. Not everyone understands this work and wants to do this work to break generational patterns. You just listening to this podcast, you just working on yourself, you attempting and doing your best to connect with yourself, to improve yourself, to be the best person you can and live to your fullest potential, that says so much about you. Be so freaking proud of yourself for doing this work, for being maybe the first in your family to do this. Because if you break the pattern that has gone on for generations and generations, what are you going to pass on? The good. So remember that your triggers are not here to hurt you. They're not here to make your life more complicated. They are simply just pointing to an area that you need to work on, an emotion that you need to let go of. This work to let go of all of this, you can find help through coaches or mentors, through energy healers, through meditation, through inner child work, through shadow work. There are so many different avenues that you can dive into to help you and your triggers. And the very last thing that I want to make a point of in this episode, because I got these new Oracle cards a couple weeks ago, and the very first two pulls I did, I pulled the exact same card. And that card was Mirror. And it instructed me to journal on 3 questions. And those 3 questions were along the lines of, I can't remember the exact wording, who and what is triggering you? What part of you wants to be seen? And what part of you are they triggering? So just remember that quite often when you're getting triggered by something, it's because something is being reflected back to you in that other person who's triggering you that you don't like in yourself. And ooh, that is a harsh freaking reality. That is hard to hear. I sure as hell hate hearing it. But it's the truth. It is the truth. And when you realize that, when you start noticing your triggers and seeing how people act certain ways, you're gonna go, oh shit, I see it now. That is part of the work. Becoming aware is the first step. So that's it for this week's episode. This one was a little bit heavy. I know that it's a lot. I know that this episode can be a little bit confronting with this type of work, but it is so juicy on the other side. So freaking high vibe when you do this. So if you love this episode or believe someone else in the world needs to hear this, take a screenshot, post it on your Insta stories, and share it with someone. Don't forget to tag me at Taylor's Tracks. I love to see what resonates with you. More content can always be found on taylorstracks.com and Instagram. I am always on there. Never hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to chat. And remember, your blessings, and remember, your triggers are just blessings in disguise. Use them as your guides towards your best you. Have a fantastic freaking rest of your day, and I will talk to you next week, you beautiful